All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. And tonight, it's week 2, guys. It's week 2 of football. Hopefully your week 1s went off with a bang, at least. And you got your great waiver wire pickups that we mentioned early in the Monday episode here. But it's Thursday now. Football is on tonight. Giants versus Redskins. Oh, not Redskins. Sorry. Giants versus Washington football team. I guess I haven't slid up like that in a while. But, yeah, Washington versus the New York Giants tonight should be an interesting game, that's for sure. But we're here to talk week 2 start and sits tonight, guys. We're going to go through some sleepers. We're going to go through some busts. And we'll just name a bunch of players that we may or may not want you guys to start this weekend here. So Coach Gibbs, he'll be here in a little bit. He's not here at the moment, but we'll get him in soon. But I do have a guest on for tonight, guys, and it's Jay Felicio. What's up going on, bud?
What's going on, man? Hey, you know what? The whole football team, whatever, it happens. It's, we said it for so long, so don't beat yourself up. It was obvious accident stuff. It's so hard
been a while. It's been a while, though. I've honestly been pretty good, and then I was like, whoa, what's going on? Maybe it's the tea I'm drinking tonight. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's great to have you on the show.
Man. Yep,
Absolutely. So just let everyone know kind of, what you guys do what you do in the industry. So
so I'm a part of the team over at Front Yard Fantasy. I have a 10 Things video series that actually I will have a video uploading tonight. I'm the content manager over there. So we have a game show Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern every day. And it's kind of like the Tonight Show meets fantasy football. So we do a little fantasy advice, do a little fun every day, Monday through Friday. And I'm the content manager. So I book the guests, I plan the shows and stuff like that. And we also have a wrap-up show that we're doing on the FanDuel channel. A FanDuel show every Sunday, 7:30. We basically recap everything that's gone on in the fantasy world. It's me, JL, Josh, and Simon.
That's awesome. I've actually been able to catch a couple of shows. They're a lot of fun to do. Especially
we got to get you on, actually. Oh, yeah.
You let me know, man. I love the quick lash. I play the jackbox.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, you can do that. That's so awesome. So
before that, I had no idea you could do custom prompts. And then I saw, doing it on there, man, it's so much fun.
That's pretty cool. So like I said, guys, we're going to have some fun talking about, football tonight. Of course, Jay's jumping on with the Giants, so repping the Giants. Hopefully they can win tonight. So the vision's wide open, man. Open.
It is, especially with Fitzmagic going down. Before the season started, and I still think that Washington's the favorite. But it's we'll see what happens. I do think from an actual football perspective, I think they're better off with Heineke than they are with Fitzmagic. But that's another conversation for another day.
Absolutely. So real quick, though, is the Giants going to win tonight?
I think they will. I think Daniel Jones keeps the streak alive. And I think, like I was telling you right before we started, Daniel Jones has 4 wins against the football team. He has 4 wins against the rest of the NFL. So I think he gets his 5th win. It would be the typical Giants thing to do. And we're going to wind up with roughly a 500 record this season, just enough to keep Daniel Jones or get him in a round, have a crappy pick. So I would either, I want him to make the playoffs or just go 0-17 and just clean house. But we'll see. Typical Giants, that they like to float around the middle. So
this is true. I do have some Giants friends I was just talking to, and they're like, they don't even want to watch it. But
yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Kyle, man. Interesting combo. The best combo there, man.
What's right.
What's going on, Kyle?
Kyle's a good dude.
He sure is. So before we get started on the start and sits, I just want to kind of recap last week. I think it would be fun to start recapping how we did the week before, so we're not just saying things anymore and not holding up to our bargain here. So Jibbs, he didn't have as great of a week. He went 4-8, and this is basically just off our sleeper and bust for the week here. Myself, I went 6 for 8. The only 2 I got wrong were the tight ends. So tight ends, if you don't have the best after that, it's kind of a wish or wash. But it's Tyler Conklin and didn't have the greatest game, and Noah Fant had a better game than I thought he was going to have. So
super fair. That has to do with Jerry Jeudy going down. So that's one of those things that you couldn't have seen coming.
That's true. I don't want to say the best combo because me and Coach Jibbs are the best combo. So, but it's a close second here.
It's up there.
It's on the top 3. It's top 3. So last week was pretty good. I had some pretty good finishes overall. I would say Zach Wilson being my best one probably. QB 16 on the week here. I had him as a sleeper and he finished it not too bad. So if you had to start him last week because I had him as a sleeper, you did okay with him at least. He got you the garbage time points you needed to Survivor Fantasy Week because starting guys like Herbert and Rodgers last week was not the right idea. So
yeah, that's funny you say that. One of my 10 things for the video that I'm putting out tonight was that garbage time points still count and people forget it. Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, there was 2 others finished ahead of guys
Jared
like
Goff.
Dak. Yeah, Goff was QB6 on the week.
Yeah.
You know, garbage time
Trevor
points
Lawrence.
count for fantasy. Yep.
Trevor
That
Lawrence,
was the other
garbage.
one too. Yep.
Yeah. So garbage time matters, guys. So keep that in mind when thinking of quarterback. Just because their matchup doesn't look great doesn't mean they're not finishing at least with decent fantasy numbers. So
yep.
Well, hopefully we can do a better 8 for 8 this week, and then we'll have hopefully 24 great picks for you guys this week. Now we got Jay on the show for this episode, so we'll see how that goes. So we will start with the quarterbacks this week here, and we'll start with the quarterback sleepers here. And basically, guy, obviously, sleeper is someone who isn't automatically a start, but someone who can end up finishing with a great week here. So, Jay, who do you have as your QB sleeper?
I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. He didn't have that great of a game on paper, but if you watch the game, he looked pretty good. You know, Cleveland was firing on all cylinders the first half of that game. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but as we know, this is a run-first team. They have 2 capable running backs, and he is still without Odell Beckham Jr., but he gets to go against the Houston Texans, who just gave up 330 passing yards to Trevor Lawrence. Yes, a lot of it was garbage time, but even with just Trevor Lawrence, I think with just Jarvis Landry, I think Baker Mayfield is going to be able to put up a lot better numbers than he did last week.
Yeah, I like that pick there a lot there. I mean, Houston's, even though they beat the Jags, whatever, but they're still a bad football team. Let's not forget that. I mean, Baker Mayfield should have a really good week here. So I like that pick a lot as a sleeper this week for sure. I think I had him as one of my sleepers in just a general sense this week. So
sure.
So for me, guys, I went with Mac Jones this week, and I hate to say anything nice about my division because I am a Dolphins fan. But if you've watched my episodes, guys, you guys know I love Zach Wilson. But so Mac Jones, again, I wasn't the biggest fan of him coming out, but the landing spot kind of made sense now. So watching him against obviously my Dolphins this past week, and I would say we have a pretty good defense for the most part here. He looked good out there. Looked like a strong leader out there, calm and confident behind in the pocket there. Made some decent throws downfield. And now he gets to go up against a not-so-great defense in the New York Jets this week here. And they just allowed their ex-quarterback, Sam Darnold, to throw up 20 fantasy points on them, who I don't really believe he's that great, but he's doing well things because he's got, I think, the talent, which will show him this year. But I think Mac Jones will get off to a good start. They're not going to probably run it maybe as much because you saw what happened last week, the fumbles, all that crap with Harris and Stevenson. I think they try to let Mac Jones use the car a little bit more this week, and I think he ends up having a really good week this week. So if you're looking for a QB to start this week, say you don't like your matchup, maybe one of the busts we talk about, maybe you want to spice things up, Mac Jones is a really good option for you in week 2 this week.
I like that a lot, and I like Mac Jones a lot too. I think he's shown a lot. I think he showed just enough in the preseason why they got rid of Cam Newton. It's the Mac Jones era in New England now, so I love that call. I definitely think he's a spot starter for sure.
Absolutely. I'm actually a little sad that I might not have gotten any shares of him in Dynasty because
I just traded for him right before the season started. I traded. It was a Superflex league. I traded Aaron Rodgers, and I got Mac Jones, and I believe a first-round pick. Mac Jones, a first-round pick, and Robbie Anderson for Aaron Rodgers. So then I flipped Robbie Anderson for Terrace Marshall in the second. So I was very happy with how that turned out.
I like that a lot there. It's going to be a good future for your dynasty team.
Yeah, it was. I have Michael Thomas and Cam Akers on that team, so
you had to end it.
I knew it was time. I need to look for next year. So
yeah, it's the next season at that point. But hey, good trades come in all kinds of sizes. So I like that a lot there. So with sleepers, that's the good feel stuff. We got to talk about some busts now. Players, quarterbacks at least, who were not so. They might look high on your ranking boards, but they might end up not really having a great fantasy week because of their matchup or whatever. So, Jay, who's your quarterback bust for the week?
So I know a lot of people hate this guy. I am still in on him long term, but my bust this week is going to be Carson Wentz. T.Y. Hilton's out for a couple weeks with his neck injury. He's playing against potentially the best defense in the NFL in the LA Rams, who, granted, it was Chicago, but looked absolutely phenomenal last week. Indianapolis also has a good defense, so I expect this to be an ugly, slow, running-focused game. They're not going to sling the ball around. Even though he did have 2 touchdowns last week, Carson Wentz only had 250 passing yards. He was sacked 3 times. I expect the Rams to be able to get at him. Especially, the leading receiver for Indianapolis Colts was Jonathan Taylor, and the second one was Nyheim Hines. So I expect a lot of that this week as well. I think he's going to have to dump the ball off a lot. And from a fantasy perspective, Wentz isn't somebody who you're going to want in your lineup this week.
You do not. Again, he looked decent last week, but this is a much tougher matchup, and we saw it on Sunday Night Football that the Rams are no joke this season here. They're looking to win a championship, and that defense is scary. I would not want to play ever behind that line right now. So Carson Wentz is going to be giddyish all weekend. So that's a great pick there, Jay. For me, guys, I went a little bold and spicy on mine here this week here, and maybe I'm just getting hot-headed here, but I went with Lamar Jackson.
Ooh, okay.
I'm saying he doesn't finish, and this is not a bold prediction or anything like that, but I think he gets outside the top 10 fantasy quarterbacks this week.
Yeah, so that's a bust for him. So I give it
exactly. So I mean, you might be considering I'm actually considering him starting him in a league or two, depending on my backup quarterback plans, honestly, right now, because the thing is with Lamar Jackson, he didn't look that great on Monday Night Football. And again, first game of the season, get the rust off, whatever it may be. But the Raiders defense wasn't that great coming into the season. It wasn't a defense I'm saying, oh, they're really good defense. And he just didn't look at par, without maybe it could be the line switches. I know that, they lost Orlando. Is it Orlando Brown? Right? They traded Orlando Brown. Yeah. I mean, they lost pieces on that offensive line there. They don't have their top tier running backs anymore. They're missing people on the wide receiver court injuries right now. He just didn't look that great this week. And now he gets to go to a team that just seems to be his kryptonite. Year in and year out. He's averages a little over, what was the number here? A little over 230 all-purpose yards and a touchdown in 3 games against the Kansas City Chiefs. They do play in Arrowhead. And the way that they looked on Monday night against the Raiders doesn't really give me confidence that he's going to have a fantastic game or have a shootout game against the Kansas City Chiefs this week. They bring us just as much pressure as the Raiders do. And you saw Baker Mayfield, if you watched the afternoon game last week, he was kind of running for his life at moments there. So
absolutely.
I know Lamar Jackson's fast, and the rushing yards might keep him afloat, but I'm concerned with the situation, and I think he might end up really having a really poor fantasy week this week. So he is my bust this week.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. And like you said, when you say bust, people think you're automatically saying, oh, don't start the guy. I think you explained it perfectly. It's they're not going to live up to their normal expectations. And if Lamar was to fall out of the top 10, that's obviously not his expectations. So I appreciate you, clarifying that, because some people, how it is. People get upset when you say one thing and they take it another way. So
that's true. Again, if you don't have someone on your bench that's worthy of even thinking about, you start Lamar Jackson because he's Lamar Jackson still. But
exactly.
This is the kind of week where you're like, maybe I don't start him. But again, lower your expectation for him this week. So, all right. So the rapid fire questions here. Let's see what we have for the quarterback position here. Jay, these are just kind of random, like start a sit kind of things here. Teddy Bridgewater, you starting him this week?
Who do they play again?
They play the Jaguars.
Yeah, gets Jags, I'd play him.
Yeah, he's a good start this week. Do you like Ryan Tannehill in a bounce back now against Seattle?
I do. The only thing I like him, I think, especially against Seattle, but I am concerned with the play calling. I can't remember who their offensive coordinator is now, but he's been known to not use the play action, and that's what has been successful for the Titans these past couple of years. So as long as they get back to using play action, then yeah, I love him.
Yeah, no, he should still be a start, but proceed with caution on him kind of this week here. We hopefully that this offense does bounce back for sure. What about Kirk Cousins? He had a good game last week against the Bengals, but the Cardinals front seven looks dangerous right now.
I tell you what, man, that defense looked phenomenal. J.J. Watt looked like the J.J. Watt of old. That was a game that I watched a lot, and man, they were just in the backfield nonstop against the Titans. And I still think I think Kirk Cousins is more of a super flex start versus a 1 QB start. I think from a fantasy perspective, Kirk Cousins gets too much hate. He's got Adam Thielen, he's got Justin Jefferson, he's got Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, who's a capable pass catcher. So he puts up solid fantasy numbers. He's another one of those guys who is a better fantasy quarterback than he is a real life quarterback. So I think he's more of a back end starter, a rock solid QB2. But the Cardinals defense is going to be a force this year.
Gotcha. No, I completely agree with you on that. It looks scary. So whoever has to play them twice a year, that division,
No,
should not be excited for those games.
no
So,
doubt.
and then just two more real quick. Would you rather start Jameis Winston, or would you rather against the Carolina Panthers, or would you rather start Matt Ryan against maybe a possible shootout with the Bucks?
Whew, that's a good one. That's better than you would think. A lot of people are extremely down on Matt Ryan because he did look pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Week 1. I think I'm going to actually go. A lot of people probably won't agree with me. I think I'm going to go with Matt Ryan. Even though Jameis Winston had 5 touchdowns, he didn't have that many yards. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Like it was a little bit of fool's gold.
Sure.
Yeah, like it was. And let me see. Let me pull it up.
179 or something.
179. Yeah, 148. So yeah, he had 5 touchdowns, but he only threw for 14 completions for 148 yards. So I'm not necessarily. I do think Jameis Winston is going to be a fine start for most of the year, but especially in an away game, the Panthers defense, even though they gave up some points to the Jets, it was more of in the garbage time, like we were talking about. They were playing a little bit prevent defense at the end of the game. I think I'm going to go with Matt Ryan. As good as the Buccaneers defense is, the secondary is susceptible. Look how good both Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb did last week. So I think I could see the Falcons getting back on track this week. I think between those two, I would go with Matt Ryan.
All right. I don't hate it all. I mean, I think you could go honestly either way with it. I think I might lean towards Jameis. I'm hoping that last week will kind of correct itself, or have more yards, maybe still have 2 touchdowns, and maybe a possible shootout game with a lot of stars on both sides. So
the only thing that scares me with Jameis is the pass catchers, other than Alvin Kamara. That's the only thing that worries me. If he had a Michael Thomas, or heck, if he even had a Traquan Smith or something like that, it might be a different story. But they've been snake bitten just like the Ravens this season.
Hopefully my Callaway shares like what Jameis can do this week, because they did not like him last week. That's for sure. Big disappointment. But well, hopefully that can bounce back here. So on to the running backs here now. Now we're on our running back sleeper of the week here. And Jay, who's your running back sleeper this week?
So I touched on it a little bit ago. I'm going to go with Nyheim Hines. Everybody was out on him with Jonathan Taylor coming back in full force, but the Colts like him a lot. They just signed him to a pretty big extension, and he served as one of the top 5 receivers on this team last week. 6 receptions for 48 yards. He was targeted the most out of anybody on the team. Like we talked about, I expect Carson Wentz to be pressured a lot. I think he's going to have to dump the ball off a lot, and they like getting Nyheim Hines involved. So I think he is a rock-solid RB2 who's got some potential upside if he's able to get in the end zone.
Yeah, no, I love that pick, honestly, there. I mean, especially in half-point or even PPR leagues at this point, I mean, he's almost a really great flex option because, I mean, he's involved in this offense. They paid him. Right. You don't pay a backup $18 million unless you're the Raiders, I guess. But again, Kenyon Drake was used in that offense, but you don't pay a backup running back $18 million over 3 years to not be involved in this offense here. And that's what I was telling people about Jonathan Taylor being a top 5 pick early in like May or June. I was like, Nyheim Hines is there. He's going to be involved in this offense. And clearly, even though they both work together, clearly Nyheim Hines has a role in this offense here. So I like that. And the guy I'm going to mention is basically another version of Nyheim Hines here, and a little older now, but it's James White. It's James White. I'm sticking with the Patriots. I feel disgusting talking about the Patriots and back-to-back picks, but James White kind of just fallen off after Tom Brady left. It was just like James White is dead. It's over for him. And then Cam's gone. Now Mac Jones. And now James White has this newfound life in him in fantasy again. I mean, he had 5 receptions last week with 59 yards. He looked good out there, and he got some rushing. He wasn't a lot, but he got some rushing to him, and I expect them to continue that with a young rookie quarterback here in Mac Jones. And who do they play against? The Jets again, and the Jets just let up 11 receptions to the Carolina Panthers running backs. So I expect James White to be a really solid flex option in PPR, half-point PPR leagues, and put up maybe at least over 10 fantasy points for you this week, and be at least a steady contributor that you can rely on. So
I like that. And he's been practically free all offseason. Everybody was all, Sony Michel when he was still there, Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, and James White was going at the end of drafts, if at all. So he's somebody you could potentially pick up off your waiver wire. I really like that call a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, I think he was just over the 40% mark when we talked about him on Monday. So we mentioned him at the end there. So hopefully if he was out there, you picked him up, and you might have yourself a nice spot start this week 2.
Absolutely.
Let's see, we have a comment here. So, Kyle said he's starting James White this week. Now it's a 12-man league where they each.
Wow.
Oh, wow. 13. That's a lot.
That's a deep starting roster. I like that. Yeah, especially in a league like that, he's a fantastic start.
You should be happy with that pick there, Kyle. So good start play this week. So, all right. So, done with the sleepers. Now we're on to the RB bust, someone who's going to bust this week. Jay, who do you got?
I've been talking about this guy all off season who I didn't believe he was going to produce like he did last year. I'm going to say James Robinson. I talked about him a lot, how he was extremely inefficient last year. Granted, he wasn't RB1, but it wasn't because of his efficiency. It was because of the volume. And Urban Meyer obviously didn't see him as a bell cow because they drafted Travis Etienne. Yes, Etienne is hurt, but he was outrushed by Carlos Hyde last week. I've got it right here. Where is it at? He had Carlos Hyde had 9 carries to James Robinson's 5. Now, he did get some targets. He got 3 catches on 6 targets. So if he continues to get targets in the passing game, I can still see him having a running back 2 value. But that's pretty much it. I don't think he's got the ceiling that he had last year because he's not going to get the volume. Urban Meyer likes Carlos Hyde. They use Laviska Shenault out of the backfield. And although he's not a running quarterback, Trevor Lawrence is a capable runner. So I just think that James Robinson and Denver was able to keep Saquon Barkley under wraps last week. Granted, he only got I believe it was 10 carries, but Barkley's the type of guy that he only needs a few carries and he can take one to the house. So they played really good run defense last week, and I can see it happening again.
Yeah, Urban Meyer really screwed me out of a couple of fantasy wins last week because I started James Robinson because I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah, you would have thought, if he would have got all the carries that Carlos Hyde got, he would have had a solid day.
And he did not, unfortunately. And I don't think and I agree with you. I don't think he has another great day this week, too, in fantasy. So
yep.
I went back and looked at my picks this week, and I'm really going bold on a lot of picks this week, especially on my bust here. So my bust this week is Austin Ekeler. Didn't have a great week last week. It was really weird, not a single target on this offense here. And
that was surprising.
That's a concern for me slightly. I know it's just week 1, whatever. He might have 11 this week, whatever. But it's just weird that your best player or so doesn't get at least 1 target. You don't game plan him to have at least 1 target. That's weird. I'm hoping they fix that, obviously, because I have Austin Ekeler shares too. But, they play the Cowboys, and I'm concerned with them not using him still and them using the wide receivers as they did a lot last week. And you saw in the first game of the season that the wide receivers dominated the secondary of the Cowboys, and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and mainly Jalen Guyton this week. I love them this week because I think they might all have big weeks this week in fantasy. And Austin Ekeler might be the odd man out for some reason in terms of this catching ability here this week. And hopefully he can get a touchdown again because that kind of saved his fantasy week. But
yeah, absolutely.
Looking back last year, the Cowboys were allowed the 5th fewest receptions to running backs. So, it makes sense. They added, Misha Parkins there on the line. That linebacker core is tough. So he may not be a smash hit because everyone loves his receiving value this week. So he might have one of these another mediocre weeks that people might start panicking. I'm sure it will get turned around. But for me, this week alone, I think he could end up being a real big bust for you in fantasy, or at least mediocre at that. Not the RB1 we're hoping when you drafted him this year.
Similar like we talked about Lamar Jackson, just not live up to his value, what you would expect. And like you said, if he didn't get in the end zone last week, he would have had a very disappointing week. So if he doesn't this week, it could be a similar situation.
Exactly. Let's see what Kyle said real quick here. Just made a trade in the redraft league, 0.5 PPR, DeAndre Swift for Corey Davis and James Robinson. I'm assuming you traded Corey Davis and James Robinson. I'm guessing, Kyle, if you're still there. If you did that, I like it. I don't hate it. I like it.
Yeah, I like the Swift side, but I am a known James Robinson. I don't want to say hater because I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but I don't like James Robinson's fantasy value. So yes, I do like Corey Davis. He showed that he was the wide receiver 1 on the Jets offense. Yeah, that's a fantastic deal.
Yes, love it, Kyle. Love that. All right, so let's talk about a couple running backs here real quick that people might have questions on for you this week here. Let's see here. Do you start Josh Jacobs if he plays this week? And if he doesn't play, do you start Kenyon Drake?
I don't think I start Josh Jacobs. He didn't look that great. I mean, he had a decent day, I believe, if I remember. He
had 33 yards.
Yeah.
2 catches. But the 2 touchdowns saved him.
Exactly. And he's banged up. He's still not practicing. He's got a tough matchup against Pittsburgh. If he plays, unless if you have any other player that you could put in his place that could return some value, I would look to sit Josh Jacobs. Now, Kenyon Drake, I think I would start him if I have him because you've got him more as a backup, as a flex. So you're not looking to have him unless you're, zero RB or something like that, where he's your RB2. But in most circumstances, he's going to be a flex play. And if he, it could be a lot worse in a situation to have somebody as a flex than Kenyon Drake this week. So I think he's somebody you could potentially slot in.
Yeah, I mean, he's turning into one of these Naeem Hines, James Robinson with the receiving ability, so that'd be perfect for you in fantasy. Josh Jacobs, for me, though, yeah, I'm sitting him as well. I'm on the same page. What about Elijah Mitchell? Big pickup this week here. Tough defense he's playing. Do you start him this week? You spent all the money for him. You starting him?
It's tough, man. In my home league, I lost J.K. Dobbins, and then I picked up Gus Edwards, and then I lost Gus Edwards, and then I went to go pick up Elijah Mitchell, and I got outbid by $1. But I'm not that upset just because I don't trust, just like everybody says, I don't trust Kyle Shanahan. You could come out this week and it could be JaMychal Hasty or it could be Trey Sermon. So I think you have to play him if you picked him up. It depends on the circumstances. I think he's fine as an RB2, or flex play, something like that. But you are taking a risk because, as we know, Shanahanigans, we don't know what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis with the San Francisco backfield.
Right. It's tough because I feel like you spend all that money, you got to put in your starting lineup. You spent money for a reason.
I saw some people drop 100 out of 100 on.
I've seen people drop 200 at 200. I mean, I got him in one league, and it was just like I wasn't even top waiver priority. I had like the 4th or something, and I got him. I was like, all right.
I got him in a couple spots, where
so
I didn't go all in like some people did because I just don't trust it season long.
Exactly. I agree with you. I don't trust it either. A couple others. Do you start any Tampa Bay Bucks RBs this week?
My guy Herms would like to say you do not besmirch the name of Rojo. I do still believe in Ronald Jones. I don't trust Bruce Arians. He's another one that generally, whatever he says, he goes with the opposite. But I believe in the talent of Ronald Jones. I do like him as a running back too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the same page here. I mean, Jones, I think, is okay to start. He should be a fine play here. Let's see what we got. Oh, only 3 months ago. Taking a Giants 10 years, shake my head.
Truth hurts. It
does hurt.
And you would think that would be Gettleman's number one priority, but here we are.
Yes, James. But yeah, I mean, I feel like he has another shot on him, but it's risky because in any moment he could go down. Or not go down, but make a bad mistake and he's out for the rest of the game.
That's the only thing that's scary. We saw it last week.
Yes, Kyle's with us too. The love for Mitchell is ridiculous. Yep. Kyle Shanahan's just hating fantasy football, and that's all he cares about. So, so let's get over to the wide receivers now here. So where am I on my wide receivers? Wide receiver sleepers here, Jay. Who do you have as your wide receiver sleeper?
So you touched on it earlier about why you didn't like Austin Ekeler. I really like Mike Williams this week. They finally got him involved. The only thing that scares me with Mike Williams, and I saw this, somebody say this on Twitter, and I say it every time I talk about him because it's hilarious. Every time he catches the ball and falls to the ground, it looks like he's getting choke slammed by the Undertaker. He just falls to the ground so hard. I worry about injury, but he did get 12 targets. He caught 8 balls for 82 yards and a touchdown. If they continue to use him that way, especially against this Dallas defense that's suspect, he could have another huge week. He scored over 20 points last week. I could very easily see that happening again.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of him. We've been waiting for this talent to break out. Maybe this is the year, but he's got a good matchup at least. So that's all we can do, and hopefully can kind of reproduce what he was able to do last week against a tougher opponent. So we can only hope. So I like that one a lot there. For me, I went with a guy who you may have picked up off your waivers this week, and it's KJ Hamler. Against that Jacksonville Jaguars team. Thank you. So the one thing people talk about Teddy Bridgewater is that he loves to throw to wide receivers that are open. He doesn't want to throw to someone who has to catch up and contest it like Cortland Sutton. And KJ Hamler last year, he had the 10th fastest target separation last year. This year, he's got the 3rd best. And he fits what Teddy Bridgewater likes to do, throw to a guy who can beat the defender and be wide open to make the easy catch. And I think with this Jaguars team who just allowed this Houston team just to run all over them, I expect to be a very similar output with Denver this week here. And I think because his big playability is so amazing that he's going to just destroy this team this week. So KJ Hamler is my sleeper this week.
I absolutely love that.
Thank you. I picked them up everywhere. Everyone was going after everyone, all the other wide receivers, and I was like, give me KJ Hamler at the end.
And a lot of times, those are the moves that work out, the ones that sneak under the radar, the guys that you pick up that were dropped from people panicking after 1 week. So I like that move a lot.
Thank you. So, all right, so let's go over the bust now. Wide receiver bust for the week, Jay. What do you got?
Let me see. I have Robbie Anderson, who I do like long-term, but there was definitely some concerning trends for him. Granted, it's only week 1, but he was out-targeted by Terrace Marshall 6-3. And granted, he did have that one long touchdown play, but, if he's only getting 3 targets a game and that doesn't connect, you've got to be worried. So I think that Terrace Marshall is going to wind up emerging as the number 3 option behind DJ Moore and obviously the number 1 option in Christian McCaffrey. Going against New Orleans defense that just shut down the Green Bay Packers, it could be a little bit tougher of a matchup this week for the Panthers, and I just don't trust Robbie Anderson to be what he was last year.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, honestly. 3 targets is definitely not something you want from a starting wide receiver or your flex option right now, and the fact that he's seeing less targets than Terrence Marshall right now, I mean, it kind of shows you where they're leaning towards, at least what Sam Darnold is leaning towards. So, he's going to be a third option at worst, and that's what not really won in the tough matchup this week. So I love that. I love that call there a lot. This might be my only one where it's like not a superstar player possibly, but it's Corey Davis this week here, guys. Corey Davis, great last week. Loved it. I love Corey Davis as a player. I think he's fantastic. But the one thing he does, he has to versus the Patriots this week, and the one thing they do, they love to stop their number 1 option. And Corey Davis is their number 1 option, as you completely saw in this offense here this week here. And I feel like Bill Belichick will find a way to kick Corey Davis out of the game because that's what Zach Wilson's comfortable throwing to. The only guy he loves to throw to is Corey Davis, it seems like. Mm-hmm. Take that away and see what Zach Wilson can do.
And Belichick is traditionally, does very well against rookie quarterbacks as well. So that's one more thing.
That's another thing. So if you're looking to think, Corey Davis is about to have this breakout season, it's possible, obviously, still, but it may not be that wonderful for you this week. You may be looking to start him as a wide receiver 2, but he ends up as a low-end 3 or 4, if that, this week. So Corey Davis is my bust of this week, guys. So, all right, so let's talk about some other wide receivers I can find here real quick. Are you starting all the Bengals wide receivers?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a big believer in this Bengals offense. I think you can start any of them with confidence.
Yep, I like them as a rebound this week. Not a rebound. Some of them did really good, but I like them all this week.
I watched a lot of that game, and they started off really conservative, running the ball with Joe Mixon, and then they started to let it air out, and that's when Jamar Chase hit that big touchdown. And then Joe Burrow took a big hit, and then they pulled back and went conservative again. So if they let him air it out, the sky's the limit for this offense. But I definitely think there's going to be a few more weeks of them playing conservative. So I still think he's somebody who's a buy low if somebody's still worried about them long term.
Love it. What about the Steelers wide receivers?
I tell you what, man, I think outside of Deontay Johnson, you really have to be concerned. Big Ben did not look good. I think Claypool you can start as a boom bust, but I'm really concerned about starting Juju.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat, honestly. I mean, I've been a big Deontay Johnson fan, but I don't know if he's going to see enough. Shane, what's going on, bud? I'm not sure if we're going to see enough target share to go around in this matchup here, honestly. It's definitely concerning. But Deontay Johnson's the one guy who's going to see the target share. That's all we know at this point. So
yeah, absolutely.
What about the Jags wide receivers?
I am a huge Laviska Shenault fan. If you follow me on Twitter, you know I talk about Laviska Shenault all the time. I think all 3 guys, I think they're valuable plays. We saw that there's going to be plenty of garbage time with this team. They want to let Trevor Lawrence air it out. They put Laviska Shenault all over the field. DJ Chark showed, why, his truthers are still out there. He looked fantastic. I think he might have been number 1. I know he was like top 5 in air yards last week. And Marvin Jones is still contributing as well. So I think all 3 of those guys are viable plays. Kyle knows. I love Laviska Shenault. But, yeah, I think all 3 guys are viable plays.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Because, honestly, I was almost going to pick Laviska Shenault as my sleeper this week, honestly. I thought he was going to have the best week of all the other wide receivers.
I did too.
So I like that one there. And then one more here, just one or the other here. Devontae Smith versus the 49ers or Jacoby Myers versus the Jets?
Think I'm going to go with Devonta Smith. Even though he did look great and the Eagles looked fantastic. Don't tell my buddy Dan that I said that. But there was a little, they didn't push it downfield, so there is a little bit of concern if that was, if that was just a product of the matchup. I just don't trust I'm still I'm not necessarily on the Jacoby Myers train. I think he's solid, but Nelson Aguilar had a good game, so I'm going to take Devonta Smith.
All right. I mean, I like that a lot there, honestly. I think I'm slightly torn. I probably end up having Smith higher in my rankings, but I'm intrigued with Myers. He had a good week last week, and he's got even a better matchup this week here. I wouldn't be surprised. And I think I said this about someone earlier, like last week, that Myers ends up having the better week, which I don't think he did. But I think Myers could end up having a better week than Smith because of the matchup and the way this offense is going to run. He could end up being their number one option. Well, I don't know if Smith is going to be the number one option. It could be. But I feel like the tight end
finally played well again.
Rager played well. Watkins got in there, and the tight ends are very involved, especially the running backs. Backs very
Miles Sanders. I'm a big Miles Sanders guy. Dan always calls me a closet Eagles fan because I always like the Eagles for fantasy. But Miles Sanders looked good. Kenny Gainwell looked good.
Yeah.
I think from a fantasy perspective, there's a lot of weapons on the Eagles.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting fantasy year for the Eagles for sure. Especially, I love Gainwell, honestly. I hope Gainwell eventually takes over. No offense, Miles Sanders.
No, I have a lot of Miles Sanders, so I hope that's not the case, but I can see it happening.
Well, I hope they at least split time and they both do fantastic, so we'll see. So over to the tight end position, the last of our night here. Where's the tight ends here? Oh, there they are. Our tight end sleeper of the week there, Jay.
I'm going to go somebody who we talked about a little earlier as well, Noah Fant. With Jerry Jeudy going down, he wound up with 8 targets, 6 catches for 62 yards. And basically, unless you have one of the top tier studs, if you're able to get double-digit points at the tight end position, you're happy. And you were able to get that without a touchdown out of Noah Fant. Like we talked about, Teddy Bridgewater does like to play a safe type of passing game. I could see him leaning on Noah Fant, on those middle of the field routes. So he's somebody who I think I think he gets probably the biggest boost out of anybody on this Broncos team with Jerry Jeudy being out.
Yeah, no, I mentioned it to somebody, and someone asked me, I was like, it's Noah Fant is going to see the biggest take. You saw he was already having that connection with Teddy, and it's just going to continue to grow, to be honest, because there's one less weapon there now, and it seems like Cortland Sutton just doesn't have that connection with Teddy like Noah Fant does. So I love that there. I love that one a lot. Let's see. Who did I pick, guys? I don't even know anymore. Oh, Cole Kmet against the Bengals this week. I know the Bears didn't look fantastic last week, but again, it was the Rams they were playing. So I give him some credit. But, Cole Kmet had a pretty decent week. He saw 7 targets in a tough matchup. He obviously is the main guy there over Jimmy Graham. It's pretty obvious at this point. Jimmy Graham gets his targets once in a while, but this is Cole Kmet's team now as tight end here. They do play the Bengals. They did allow Tyler Conklin 4 for 44 or 41. Yeah, not great stat line, but I feel like Cole Kmet is better than Kyler Conklin and a lot better. And this could be a game where they actually are shooting out instead of being extremely behind and being inefficient compared to last week. So I think Cole Kmet can end up having a pretty solid day, maybe scoring a touchdown against, like I said, a so-so Bengals defense at this point. So
yeah, I love that call. I'm a big Cole Kmet fan. Like you said, I think his talent, I think he's got an enormous amount of talent. I was disappointed that they didn't release Jimmy Graham. I was hoping that would be the case, but it seems like it's not really going to matter if they plan on, focusing on him and Allen Robinson in this passing game. So I think it's a great call.
Hey, hopefully Jimmy Graham's teaching him everything possible to be a great tight end. So he
Absolutely.
is in the near future. So listen up, Jimmy Graham. Yeah. All right. Our tight end busts. Jay, who do you got there?
I'm going to go with Juwan Johnson. I know a lot of people are talking about him and his 2 touchdowns, but there's a lot to be concerned about if you look at the numbers. He only had 3 targets. Yes, he caught all 3 of those, but it was for 20-something yards. Like, it wasn't a whole lot. 2 touchdowns is what people see. He only played 12 snaps. He was 3rd in snap percentage behind both Adam Troutman and Ryan Griffin for tight ends for the Saints. Like we talked about, they didn't really air it out. You see, Jameis Winston threw 5 touchdowns, but wasn't that many yards. So I think that people are going to be putting him in your lineup, and it's basically going to be touchdown or bust.
No, I like that people are getting high because he caught 2 touchdowns. I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes there, guys.
Right, exactly.
He's not that great yet. So can Jimmy teach him how to steal a bunch of money from NFL teams? I love that, Kyle. That's great. All right, so my bust here, and again, that's why I said I went bold and spicy with all my busts apparently this week, but I went Kyle Pitts.
Ooh, that hurts. I have a lot of Kyle Pitts. So.
I know. I mean, I have 1 share, but I have 2 shares actually. But again, everyone hyped up Kyle Pitts as this great generational talent, which he can definitely is. But he's still a rookie tight end, and he still needs to learn the ropes of being a tight end in the NFL. And if you saw the Falcons play last week, they looked atrocious. I mean, Matt Ryan did not look good. The line was beaten down, I think, more times than not. There's no run game there to really take the pressure off them to that extent here. You know, the only good thing is that he did play a lot out of the slot. He wasn't lined up as tight end as much, which is good. But again, they're versus the Bucs. Their front seven is a disaster, and they're going to get to Matt Ryan week in and week out. Not week in and week out, but in this game, they might get week in and week out if he does that bad. But it's a tough matchup, and I think that people need to pump the brakes on the expectation that Kyle Pitts is going to come off and beat Travis Kelce or George Kittle off the bat. It's going to be just an average play possibly this week for him. He'll get there. He's young. He's 21, but it may not be off the bat that we all hope so. So for me, Kyle Pitts is my bust this week, guys.
No, and I can see that, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's got to be the expectation that you have. A lot of people thought he was going to come out week 1 and be that instant first ballot Hall of Famer that everybody already propping him up to be. But, you know, like you said, Matt Ryan struggled. It's a new offense. It's a new offensive coordinator, new head coach. He's a rookie. Matt Ryan's getting older. There's a lot of things that it's going to take time. I do think he's going to turn it on, you know, the second half of the season. Especially Matt Ryan, anytime he's had a new offensive coordinator, it's taken him some time to get in the rhythm of things. So I think it's going to be, you know, the early to the middle of the season before this offense really starts clicking on all cylinders.
Right. No, I completely agree with you on that for sure. All right. And let's just do one this or that tight end.
Sure.
Do you play Tyler Higbee this week, or do you play Rob Gronkowski?
Tyler Higbee's another guy that I've been very down on, although I was in on him last week and he paid off. I'm going to go Gronk. You know, I know Gronk's up there, but he's still got the connection with Tom Brady, and, man, he looked great. If they continue to air it out like that and he continues to look for Gronk in the end zone, I think Gronk, you know, he's not the Gronk of old, but he could very easily wind up being a top 5 option on the season.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you, honestly. I think Gronk, that connection people forgetting is a magic when they were together. And I think it took some time for them to really gel because Gronk's been out of football for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's got a full offseason with Brady now. I mean, I think he might end up being a really good tight end that went really late in drafts, and I'm probably kicking myself for not going after more.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I like that. I'm on that same page there. So we're going to wrap things up here, guys. That was our week 2 sleepers, bust, start and sits, whatever you want to call it here this week. We didn't get Coach Gibbs on. He's okay though. Don't worry. He's fine. He's somewhere, but he's fine. So we'll get him on next week.
Life happens.
But Jay, thank you, my friend, for jumping on, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Just so before we let you go, let everyone know they can find you out, and if you want to have anything you want to mention on your guys' stuff.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at GMenJ. I have a video coming out tonight that talked about a lot of topics we discussed tonight. It's a video series I'm doing weekly called 10 Things You Need to Know for whatever week we're on. And it's a little bit of everything, some start sits, some guys to buy low, sell high, good matchup, stuff like that. So it changes from week to week, but it's just some tips that I think could help you for that specific week.
Yeah, so guys, go check him out. His stuff is great, especially the game shows are amazing to watch there. Learned a lot of good fantasy stuff from just watching some games. So go there, check it out, and give Jay a follow, guys. Tell them all about how the Giants are going to lose tonight or win tonight, whatever you want to do. So, but, thank you guys for tuning in, listening. Thank you guys who ever listen afterwards, obviously, once we post it online. But thank you guys for listening. And as always, go check out our website at www.thefantasycoaches.com. If you ever want to give us a follow on Twitter, please do so at Coaches Fantasy. And if you ever want to reach out to me, you can do that at Coach Stephen P on Twitter. Glad to help you guys out with any of your fantasy questions you have. We do this for free. At least I do this for free. So, it's genuine when I'm going to give you advice. So thank you guys for listening in tonight, and tune in until next week. We'll have 4 new shows next week. So Enjoy your week 2. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. And take care, guys.
We'll see.